I would love to say welcome to 69th Street, but coming from Basel, it feels like the wrong thing to start. So welcome to the show Verena Loewensberg. So actually, we're really looking forward to the opening of that. As always, such an exhibition is a teamwork, but I have the great pleasure introducing, I would say, the two main characters of the show, so to speak. So one is Lionel Bovier and Henriette Coray Loewensberg. Lionel, I can say, is a good friend, but he is the director of the Museum Mamco in Geneva, which is a great museum. You all have to visit it, and it's a very dynamic museum. And although Verena Loewensberg's work is kind of very much known in Switzerland and also in Europe, actually for quite a while there was no show happening in Switzerland. So you did an amazing show 2 years ago, is that correct? Which was really an eye-opener, and I have this catalog in my hands because you should really all look at it. It's a beautiful catalog, some great contributions, and I think this was really the starting point of thinking of showing her work not only in Switzerland but abroad. Henriette Coray, it's a great pleasure for me. I have to say I learned so much through you and with you in the last 7 years through your mother's work, and I really have to say I have a deep respect because she was publishing the first Catalogue Raisonné in 2012, which is the base of everything we can do. So she really did amazing, with a great team, amazing work to really, which was a starting point of discovering this artist. And also, I mean, I have to say, and you will realize that, we are looking at paintings which are 50, 60, 70 years old, and you will realize these paintings are in mint condition. So it was really, for you, carefulness to your mother's work that we can really enjoy this show now. So I pass on the word to you.
Well said. Good evening. I was asked to say a few words about the artist, but also about the exhibition. They said 1 hour. I hope it's okay. Yeah, 1.5 maximum, I promise. Well, first of it, the show, and you're quite lucky, is the first exhibition in the US of this artist. So you're the first visitors of this first show. So I hope you will enjoy it. It's not chronological. It has been masterfully handled by Henriette Coray. We talked about the selection of works which span from the 1940s to the 1980s. Verena Loewensberg was born in 1912 and she passed away in 1986. So it spans her entire oeuvre, which is not structured in series except for 2 bodies of works. One of them we're going to show you upstairs. Very often she goes back to a motif, to a composition, and work again and again, changing the colors, changing the composition itself. So it's more, I would say, it's a word she liked, the Stimmung that might phase the work in different rooms. And this is more or less what Henriette has done. There's different rooms with different atmosphere for different bodies of work put together, again, with parsimony but extreme care in the choice of the paintings. I must say a few words about concrete art. When Verena Loewensberg first met the art world, it was in 1934. She met Max Bill and Binya Bill. They became friends. She went to Paris. She had a very important encounter with Georges van Tongerlo, who was at the time trying to organize a group called Abstraction Création. And when she returned to Zurich, she embarked into a journey into art. As many artists of her generation, it was difficult to leave from the art, so she also was commissioned to do composition for textile or work for the advertisement, etc. That's still a research that we will do in the next years with the foundation. Is we found, for instance, a lot of gouache of the 1930s, of which it's difficult to say if it was properly realized for that textile or if it was just like a composition she wanted to do and maybe later was used by the industry. Concrete Kunst, concrete art, was supposed to be a bit different from abstraction. You abstract something from reality, from the perception of reality. What the concrete artist wanted to achieve was the complete autonomy of the painting itself. It should not refer to anything else than its composition and its color scheme. So it was something that was very often mathematically composed and deducted from a logic that you should be able to perceive. There should not be any other references, so there's no title, and then the color or the dimension is never indicative of a portrait, a landscape, or there's no clues for you left to interpret that composition into something else. Very often it's based on a grid motif, which helps to organize the information, and again, that provides a mathematical background for any composition. As you will see, as from the 1940s on, she took some liberty with that, let's say, language, or origin of that language, or orthodoxy of that language that was developed by 4 artists in Zurich: Max Bill, Camille Graeser, Richard Paul Lohse, and Verena Loewensberg. The first exhibition, if I'm not wrong, was in 1935, part of this Abstraction Création group show, and then from that moment on she had exhibitions, but of course probably not to the extent of a Max Bill figure, for instance, who went out of Switzerland quite regularly and who diffused concrete art in Latin America, for instance. The concrete group that was founded in the 50s in Brazil is due to the encounter of Geraldo de Barros with Max Bill. The MADI group in Buenos Aires has ties to Concrete Kunst. During all that time, Verena Loewensberg remained somehow a figure that was not on the first row of that movement or that history. You had to wait until 1981 to see the first retrospective, which happened to be the first retrospective of a female artist in Gstaad, Zurich. And since then, there's been a number of important retrospectives in Switzerland, the last one being the one I organized. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it tried to change a little bit the perception of that generation. I'm, let's say, too young to be annoyed by the importance given to concrete art in Switzerland, which some of my predecessors were. I mean, it was a very impressive group of artists who kind of had a precedence over the Swiss art through the 1970s and 80s. And I'm a bit too young to care, too old to care, sorry. So it's basically, I was free to look at the paintings again, and then I found a great liberty, a great freedom in the compositions, in the way she organized colors. I found resonance with different groups of artists that were not mentioned in the previous historiography of Loewensberg, for instance, pop or seriality in art, which is something that is quite obvious in the US, but was a bit less obvious in Switzerland or in Europe. And from that, we built an exhibition that was trying to give justice to these fantastic paintings and to try to give new perspectives to the way this work has developed. I'm not going to say a few more things because initially we wanted to go together in the floors, but I think you're a bit too many for that to happen properly. So let's say, again, the show is not chronological. You start with work from the 1670s in the first room. You are here, these 3 works date from 1974, one, okay? And one of them has been made in 1981, which is this one. Or 82? Okay, see, that's why I always need a. So it shows a little bit that this composition, which is basically look alike, is something she worked again and again. And you have variations on those, on this wall, with a, let's say, a grid that has been properly broken by the color and by the composition itself. On my back, there's the first and only sculpture that Loewensberg did, which, to be described, should be, she made a model for a sculpture that she wanted to have a bit bigger. And it was finally realized last year by Henriette to the right size and the right proportions. It's paired with a painting that dates from the year of conception of that sculpture, which refer, it's probably the only exception to what I said before, which refer to a certain architecture that you could find in the Roman or Greek temples. She saw those in Sicily and was very impressed by the way they structure a composition somehow. They have a rhythm of themselves. On the second floor and the third floor, it continues with different groupings in different rooms. And I want to bring your attention to one room which we built around a little documentation, so tools to show how she was working on the paintings, a little bit of biographical information, but also wallpaper that was realized for the show in Geneva, which tried to indicate that some of the compositions were made to be applied, or they had applied art as an horizon, even if we cannot be very precise about, which one was used or not used. The way she was painting, you will see the tools, was that she was always using oil paint in different coatings. There's normally 2 or 3 coatings per color. There was no masking tape, so there's no, I'm talking to the painters here, so there's no bumps in the way the color reach to each other, and there's no tracing. So she starts with a little drawing that she then made 1-to-1, and then she takes some points of references that she applied to the canvas so that you won't see the tracing behind it. So it's kind of completely hand-painted, even if it's conceived as a schematic before. And I think that's it. And if you have any question, I know she doesn't necessarily want to address you all, but I'm sure she would address you individually. We have the daughter of the artist, Henriette Coray, with us. She knows everything about the way her mother made a work, a career. She witnessed it. She made sure that we can witness it decades later. So thank you, Henriette, for your great stewardship of that work.